Hi friends, this is Joe, and this is episode number 194 of the Dekahedron RPG podcast, and this is episode number 6 in the series I'm doing about how I create a sandbox campaign. And we've just been, as the third part of the process, we've just been running through the 20 quick questions about the campaign setting by Jeff Rients. Links down below or in the show notes. And today we're doing questions number 7, 8, and 9. And those questions are basically, where can I go to get healing? Where can I go to get big healing? And where can I go? Are there any special guilds that magic users have to belong to? Before we get into that, a little side detour. I got really tired of saying Northern Kingdom and Southern Kingdom all the time, so I went ahead and I gave them names. The Northern Kingdom is called Kaldur, K-A-L-D-U-R, and the Southern Kingdom is called Grenenwald, Grenenwald. Yeah, it was just time to name them, and there they are. There are the names. So let's get to it. I have some notes I'm going to be reading from. Yeah, let's do it. So question number 7 is, where can we go to get some magical healing? We talked a little bit about this last time, right? We said that the village has a healer named Tildhild. You might notice I changed her name a little bit. Last episode, I said her name was Tidhild. It is hard for me to say Tidhild without it sounding like something worse. So I just threw an L in there to make it work for the way I speak. So she's now Tildhild. And the more I'm pronouncing that out loud, I think I'm going to drop that middle D and she's going to just be Tildhild. I like that a whole lot better. So there we go. Honest for a change. Like I said, nothing is canon until it gets in front of the players. All right. So you go to her for magical healing, but she's not high level, right? She's probably like a first level if you're playing like D&D or TNT. She probably knows Cure Light Wounds, and in D&D, she probably can only do that once a day. In Tunnels and Trolls, because magic works different, in my opinion, better, she can probably do it more than once a day. But yeah, Poor Baby is the name of the spell there, and that's probably all she can do. On the other hand, I also decided, and I just made this up, right? It's your campaign. Do what you want. I also decided that you can buy poultices from her. It's not quite a magic potion. They're a lot cheaper, but they work very differently. In D&D, the standard trope is, right, you whip out the magic potion, you quaff it down, you get like 1d6 hit points back. This works differently. This is a poultice, right? It's a piece of folded cloth with healing herbs and salves on it, and you put it onto the wound. And then nothing happens for 10 minutes. That's one turn, right? The old turn-based gaming, it works for a reason, right? So for one turn, does nothing. Then you roll a d4 on, you roll a d6. On a 6, you heal 2 points. Anything else, you heal 1 point. Unless you rolled a 1, 10 minutes later, you get to roll again. And again, same thing. If you roll a 6, you heal 2 points on top of whatever you healed last time. If you roll anything else, you heal 1 point on top of what you did last time. Unless you roll a 1, in which case you heal the 1 point, but then it stops working. It won't work after that. It's been used up, it's dried up, whatever. Now, I talked a bit long time ago about some other episode. If I think about it, I will put it in the show notes or on screen below if you're on YouTube. But there was another episode where I talk about one of the things I do in these old games is I do per wound damage. So in one round you take 4 hit points, in another round you take 1 hit point. Those are 2 different wounds, and you could apply a poultice to both of them, and they would both heal. But that's very much a house-ruled thing. So that's where you can go for healing. If you have some more pressing needs in the village of Ashfjord instead of Elmsfjord, where we are, there is a healer there. Her name is Rhymhild, she's much more experienced. In fact, she was Tilhild's aunt. Well, she is Tilhild's aunt. She's Tilhild's dead mother's sister is who she is. And she's higher level, maybe like 4th level. And again, she's going to know poor baby just like Tilhild, but she can cast it at that higher level. In D&D at 4th level, I don't know, she probably knows Cure Serious Wounds by then? I'm not sure. Yeah, she also has Healing Feeling, which is a TNT spell, which in D&D we would call Cure Disease. Aren't TNT spell names so much more interesting? Cure Disease, how boring. Healing Feeling, at least it rhymes. Anyway, you know, because Tilhild is so unexperienced, has been talking about sending her to Ashfjord to get trained under Rhymhild, but she refuses to go. You know, and if you ask her why, she says, "Well, I can't leave the village without a healer while I'm away learning." But that's a BS answer, right? And if you dig a little deeper, you're going to find out that, remember, we said that she was disloyal, and we said that's kind of disloyal to her father, who's the Jarl. But because she blames him for her mother's death, but she also blames Rhymhild. And the reason I invented, the reason is because when her mother was ill, her father went off to Ashfjord to get Rhymhild and bring her back, and they didn't make it in time. So in her mind, she's blaming them for not being fast enough to save her mother. Of course, that is still a level of dishonesty, because if you dig really deep down, Tilhild really blames herself, because she didn't take her studies seriously enough. She didn't level up fast enough to save her mother herself. But that's like really locked deep down. She barely admits that to herself. If that ever comes out in play, that needs to be like a really, really emotional scene, right? It's not just something she's going to drop out of nowhere. There's going to be a build-up. That right there probably tells you a whole bunch about how I play. I know some people don't play that way. I know a lot of people just view it as a combat game with a little bit of story to go from encounter to encounter. That's not me. This is more me. Before we go to question 8, we should probably talk about Rhymhild's personality, right? Because I've been generating them. I'm using my NPC generator. Links down below. So the generator said that she's somewhat unromantic. She is somewhat lusty. She has a mannerism of pull my finger. And she has a hobby of pub quizzes. So that implies a certain kind of lifestyle right there. Right? Don't need to delve into it. I imagine that conflicted a bit with Tilhild's mother's lifestyle. And that's probably maybe another level of conflict between Tilhild and Rhymhild. Question 8 is, where can we go to get cures for the following conditions? Poison, disease, cures, level drain, lycanthropy, polymorph, alignment change, death, and undeath. If you wanted, you could give a separate answer for each one of those. My general answer is usually something like one of the big cities. I went a different way for this one. I drew on some real life inspiration. So about 10 years ago, I did this hike. It's called the Camino de Santiago. You know, I started in France, walked over the Pyrenees into Spain, and then towards the coast to Santiago de Compostela. It's about a 500-mile walk. People have been doing it for 1,000 years, doing this pilgrimage. And one of the traditions of the Camino is that when you leave home, you take a rock and you put it in your backpack. And that's saying something, right? Because when you're doing the Camino, right, 500 miles, you're going to be carrying this stuff on your back every single day. You don't bring anything you don't need. People measure things out to the gram and look for the lightest weight stuff they can. But you bring this rock. And about 3/4 of the way through the Camino, I'm not sure about that distance, but about 3/4 of the way, right around the Fonts Badon area, you come to the Cruz de Ferro. It's the highest point of the Camino. It's really an iron cross on top of a pillar, and you leave your rock there. Your rock representing your burdens, your sin, if you will, whatever's weighing you down in life, you leave there at the Cruz de Ferro. And it's a symbolic thing. It's a tradition thing. So I leaned into that. I said, there's an old saint, not even from one of the two kingdoms, right? We don't want to make the world so small that nothing ever comes from anywhere else. I'm looking up. So there's the order of the Saintess Tia. And she lived about 300 years ago. And she was a healer. She was into healing. And she is a saint of both Lugh and Bel. If you go back to what I said about religion, I said that there are two good deities. She is revered by both, and that's very unusual. Actually, when I first wrote it down, I said, she is the only one, but I don't like locking myself in like that. That's very unusual. Same feeling, but it gives me room to add things later. But one of her beliefs was that you don't heal willy-nilly, right? People have to accept this healing. They have to be penitent of heart. And so her order makes people go on these pilgrimages in order to be healed. And the pilgrim is required to take a wooden log and carve into it their biggest moral failing or the biggest moral temptation, their biggest moral struggle. And they have to carry this log to, I forgot the name of it, up to a mountain, to Mount Varning. And once you get the log there to Mount Varning, where the shrine to Saintess Tia is, they burn it. And the priests and the priestesses ascertain if in their mind you are sincere. And if you are sincere, then they will heal you. And that is where you can go for major healing stuffs. It's not easy. It's not just a gold sink. Let's me just throw gold stuff. It's a role-playing opportunity. I think it's interesting. I think it's flavorful. That's the type of things I tend to go for. That was question 8. Let's go to question 9. Question number 9 is there a magic guild that my magic user belongs to or that I can join in order to get more spells? All right, that's a very D&D question. I am going very Tunnels and Trolls with this one. So in Tunnels and Trolls, I've talked about this before, but just to refresh your memory. In Tunnels and Trolls, there are 3 classes, right? Warrior, which is pretty much your fighter. Wizard, which is pretty much your magic user. And Rogue, which is not a thief, it's a rogue wizard. And in the TNT world, if your wizard belongs to the guild, he's a wizard. If he casts spells but doesn't belong to the guild, he's a rogue. I just took that idea and I cranked up the dial a little bit, and I said, if you're not a member of the guild, it is actually illegal for you to practice magic. However, up here in Ashford and Elmsfjord, in the sticks, people don't care too much. As long as you're not causing trouble, people aren't going to ask to see your guild card. But in theory, you could be put to death for it. So there's that. If you are a magic user, then you belong to a guild. But up here in the sticks, there are no guild houses. There are no guild halls, schools, any of that stuff. If you want to learn a new spell, and they will never teach you if you're not a member of the guild. If you want to learn a new spell or anything, you have to go to one of the guild halls. And I said that there's one in a town called Oxenville, I think. Yeah, it is. It's Oxenville, or there's another one in a town called Bridgeting, and both of those are in Grenenwald, that's the southern kingdom. There's only one in the northern kingdom, Caldor, and Calderborg is what I call the capital city there. So there's the guild, by the way, I called it the Concilium Arcanum, the Council of Magic. And so that is where you would go for your spells there. That's it. We've done the 3 questions. We are now at question 9, almost halfway through. But yeah, that's it for this time. Again, I hope you're getting the feeling that the town is coming to life, the setting is coming to life just by answering these questions. And the hook that we established way back in the first episode, yeah, I think it works. That's why I use it. One thing I will say is that I think I'm going to cut off adding anything more to Tilhild. I think she's becoming too central right now. She's connected to both her father and her aunt. And that's a lot where there shouldn't be any star NPC, just a bunch of NPCs that are all interconnected. The stars are supposed to be the players. That's all I have for this time. Tell me what you think. Feedback at dekahedron.com. Comment below if you're on YouTube, or you can call the feedback line, which is, I don't know. It's on screen or it's in the show notes. Thanks for watching and you're listening. Until next time, happy gaming, happy life. Bye.